August 5th, 2025, and it is 12:25 p.m., and I'm hailing out of the greater Lynchburg, Virginia area. I welcome you to AstroPsych, and we're going to be taking a look at our Aquarius full moon that is occurring for us. And what I want to do here is go ahead and pop up into the corner, and that'll give you the opportunity to see the chart in front of you there better. And I'm just going to be sharing on this moon for the next few minutes. So as you can see, we have a full moon that is occurring at 16 degrees and 59 minutes in the sign of Aquarius, the fixed air water bearer of the zodiac. And it's almost 17 degrees. So I would say wherever 1659 or 17 degrees in your chart is of Aquarius is where this moon will be transiting for you. And I want to take a look here at just some key things that we see when we have, first of all, a full moon. And many of you probably know, if you follow the full moons, that full moon is the cycle where we are birthing something and that we are full and we cannot fit anything else within, and we must move on. And in order to move on and go into the next moon phase, we have to release. So it's a time of great accumulative energy that has an opportunity to work very well in things in your life that you're wanting to let go of, that you're wanting to place out into the ether, that you're wanting to no longer carry inside of you, so that it can go out and leave space for the new. So if you're born under an Aquarius moon, born under an Aquarius full moon, this is a powerful moon that has a mission, and the mission ties into group dynamics with Aquarius. Aquarius originally rules the 11th house of the zodiac wheel, where we see up there in the chart the sign of Taurus. And Taurus has been very busy doing a great work within the sign itself in fixed earth energies, and also within the planet Uranus or Uranus. And Uranus has recently moved into Gemini, and we're going to talk about that. And it's important to understand that Taurus has finished a great cycle of change. Now it's stationing retrograde, and it will go retrograde, where it will tip back into Taurus for a brief time and then move back into Aquarius. We have the same thing happening with the outer planets of Neptune and the outer planet of Pluto, all in this situation where they are going back for a final look before they go back into air and fire. So what we're seeing here is a time from 2025 to 2027 of great momentous change, uncertainty, recalibrating into different energetic signatures to then receive, once they all go in 2026 and nestle back in to stay for these longer cycles. Uranus being, 7 years within a sign. We have 84 years to go around the chart. It's a very slow moving planet. Neptune, 14 years within a sign, will be going back into Aries and staying 14 years there. Takes 165 years basically 64, 65 years to go around the wheel. And then we have Pluto that takes 248 years. And it's going to stay in Aquarius for 20 more years. Has an elliptical orbit, doesn't go circular around Earth, it goes elliptical. So it stays consequently in certain signs longer than it stays in others. So before we get there, though, we are under great change. And I just want to emphasize that the change here with this full moon, in the midst of the change, one of the brightest moons of the year, is asking us, where's your 11th house connections? How are they? Are they healthy? Do you need to tweak them? Where do you show up in your self-expression, your creative mind? And with this tension we're experiencing here, where do you show up in the collective with your energy? Where you're expansive and you're progressive, and where you want to move forward in your own way to set a mark upon the planet, showing I have been here. I was alive for such a time as this. Where are you releasing your rebel yell? This is what this moon is asking. With the sun opposite this moon, we are in Leo season. Aquarius is opposite to Leo, this place of polarity, this place of contention, this 180 degrees of I'm on one side of the wheel, you're on the other. How are we going to meet in the middle? How do I need to compromise my great Leo I desire, right? I will, rather. My I will statement in fixed fire. How does that reconcile with Aquarius, who is we know? It goes from this I position to a we position, where our I perhaps needs to consider how our personal leadership, our personal roar in Leo, our personal fire, our sun ruled by Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun, our solar will, our solar power, our solar star, our I am, our I will, I desire, right? How is that influencing the others? How is your patterns of being, your way of leading your solar sun identity around? How are those patterns working for you? Are they healthy? Are they good? And the reason we have a deep dive here is we see that this moon for Lynchburg, Virginia, anyway, United States of America, is occurring in the 8th house of Scorpio, the 8th house of personal relationships, quadrant 7, 8, and 9, of how we come out from the lower wheel, so to speak, and interact with society, and how our relationships that have been set up through all the other signs and houses that come before it, and how that psychology, the 95% subconscious realm of the cave, what is hidden, what we don't see, that which we do all of our actions and activities from, well, at least 95% of them, the things we don't really see, right? How is that impacting my 11th house, and how am I releasing for the good of all? Not just for the good of me, but for the good of all. And what will be my legacy? These are the themes of this Aquarius moon opposite that solar sun. Now, Mercury sitting there next to that sun and Pallas sitting next to that moon is a whole nother conversation. And I'll get into that in a minute. We also have Pluto moving backwards, heading back towards Capricorn. Dear God, no. That was a huge long transit from 2018 to 2025, basically, back and forth. It ingressed in 23, 24, and went back and forth. But, it had settled in here to Aquarius. If you've been following me, I've been talking about this. And now we're coming back in retrograde. So, as of this chart, if you look at it as a whole as well, with the sun opposite going on and these questions between the 8th and the 11th square this is forming, now this 90-degree angle of tension, got double tension here. And the 5th house over there, which is originally ruled by Leo, is also being squared. And there happens to be Scorpio in there, which is squaring that 8th, which is where Scorpio lives. So you see, we have some squares going on that don't feel so good. Now, I've got the sextiles up in front of you that you can see because we're going to get to those. But the original squares are there between 8th, 11th, 2nd, and 5th. This is not easy energy right now. I need everyone to hear that and understand. This is great, great transformation. And we're personally being asked to step up for the collective, to step up and move these energies that have been so down and in to up and out, to possibilities, to dreaming again, to lofty goals, to innovation and expansiveness, and to let these energies come in. And if we resist, it's not going to be easy. So what we have to do is calibrate. And that's what we're doing. We are literally in the chrysalis of the cocoon. We're in there and we are not what we were. We have left Pluto and Capricorn, this 10th house Saturnian-led, top-down mentality of power dynamics collectively. We have left that energy to now we the people. 11th house is roaring. The revolutionary energies where Pluto was when we formed the United States of America. The energies, if you've been watching, of some significant wars that have occurred with Uranus and Gemini. And some interesting spiritual dynamics when Neptune goes into Aries and the spiritual I am rises, and we'll see all kinds of disguises of what that looks like, including what you're watching right now. And we'll determine whether it's AI-led. We're going to see so much spiritual AI coming forth. And if you're not discerning, you're going to believe it all. Remember, this knows the way. But if this is polluted, the eye gate, the mind gate, and the intuition is not open and balanced and centered and able to hear, and your shield and your protection, auric protection from psychic, psychic entities will rise with Neptune and Aries. This is the I am cardinal fire inside of a nebulous planet of no form, like the ocean waves. King Neptune himself, the trident in his hand and 1 foot upon the waves. Yes. So be discerning as this energy comes out. is very, very important. So, sun opposite moon with Pallas and Mercury in the houses. Pluto kind of far away from Pallas and the moon, but remember, by degree, Pluto has gone forward and back, so it's not in this real stable energy in retrograde either. It's like trying to finish a lesson and go forward already, but it's coming back. The moon has gone through that erratic energy, you see, and so has Pallas gone through that erratic energy. And now, moon going forward, obviously, very quickly, Pallas goes backwards. And so it's very important to see what Pallas is speaking in this moon, because Pallas has a message and it's in review. And Pallas is being asked, it didn't touch the moon, you see. It's at 15 degrees 14 minutes in retrograde. So she's coming back. She's coming away. And when she's going forward, she's approaching. And when she's coming away, she's separating. So again, in the decan of Mercury here in the 8th house, our intellectual reasoning of Gemini 3rd house, air, in mutable ways, energy that goes out and supports and receives, and Virgo in the 6th house of earth, in mutable earth. Also very mercurial, but the 3rd house is more about communication and the 6th house is more about health and healing. Okay? In this decan, those two themes come out and they're asking you, hey, how's your 3rd and 6th house? We got to bring in Mercury. We have to bring in Hermes. We have to bring in the messenger that has a message. And our messenger, where is he? He is in Leo next to the sun. And he is also in retrograde, stationing to go forward as of August 11th in just a few days. So it's finishing up. He's getting restless and he's starting to stir. And he's like, I'm done already with this message. Learn your lesson, he's saying. Learn your lesson of connection with others, 3rd, 6th house, in your Leo I will energy, in relating to the greater collective. What I want to do now is just go to all of the inner planets really quickly here and just show you the movement of the inner planets. Now, the inner planets are closest to the sun, of course, and the inner planets allow you to be able to work with them extremely closely. The bridge planets, Jupiter, Saturn, yes, as well, but not as well as these inner planets. So if you know where these inner planets are at and their themes on a month-to-month basis, really is all you need to know, really is going to help you understand the kind of energetic signatures that are around you that you can work with. And this is important if you want to do personal alchemy and you want to do your personal rituals and add this element to it. It's also important for intuitive training. It's also important if you want to connect to the energetic signatures, to that which is above, to that which is below, to that which is within, to that which is without, to that which is within my soul, to that which is then within the universe. All right, we have Mercury, as discussed, in Leo, 4 degrees, 28 minutes, sextiling Mars, working with Mars, and sorry about that, sextiling Mars, sextiling Uranus, and sextiling Sedna, which we have not talked about, also sextiling the star Aldebaran over there in the 12th house. So fire can work with air. This is why they're sextiling. And sextiles are an ask. Sextiles are complementary energy exchange, saying, look, if you work with me and I work with you, we can accomplish Venetian things, which is the rulership of a 60 degrees. Venus is creativity, is beauty, is relating. Now, it's interesting to see, after talking about the eighth house of psychology and our subconscious and how we processed our relationships, our challenges there, our own psychology. The other subconscious house here is the 12th, the deepest of them all. So how is our I will energy communicating to others in a radical way, in a Uranian way, in a revolting rebel, I have something to say way with others concerning second house themes, eighth house themes, other people's money, your money, Venus, how you value things, where you value things, why you value things, who you value things with, what you don't value, what you don't create. Venus points to second, seventh house themes. Venus is over in Cancer. In the first house, ascendant house, portal house, energy coming through, conjunct beloved Jupiter in Cancer at 13 degrees, conjunct the Cancer ascendant at 14 degrees. And where are they? Conjunct Sirius as well. And where are they? They're all in Mercury, you see. The decan of Mercury. Again, decan of Mercury with the moon. Decan of Mercury with Venus. Jupiter saying, hey, you have great potential here. There is an open door with this full moon portal for you to do great, great work within all things Cancer, all things home, all things family. The four sextiles, the second. Yay, they can work together. Libra, Mars can work with Leo, Sun, Leo, Mercury. Black Moon, Lilith in Leo, in retrograde. Our sexual themes of control and dominance in the home, in Cancer, under retrograde, in our partnerships with what? Venus. Venus is squaring that fourth house. There's contention there. But I promise you, wherever you see a square, you have an incredible gift. You have an incredible opportunity if you overcome the tension and the laceration and the hard work of the square. If you go the distance, the square will reward you like Saturn will not deny you. May delay, may bring challenges, but will not deny you. Absolutely will not deny you. Important to look at. I'm going to look at for a moment out of this book here, The Asteroid Goddesses, the mythology, psychology, and astrology of the re-emerging feminine, the new edition, Demetria George and Douglas Block. And I want to talk about Pallas here for a moment because I think this is really important to understand with this moon. Considering that she is so close and she's now moving away from that moon, I want to embolden her and I want to encourage anyone who identifies with this right now that you're being asked to review, and it might have hurt. And it's gonna hurt in the eighth house. This is the cave. This is the darkness. This is the depths of Hades himself pulling you down like he pulled Persephone down for dominance and control. Like, these are the areas in your psyche where you must do your shadow work. We're in the shadow work house. The moon in the shadow can do very well. This is the dark moon in here. But it's in this Aquarian moon that, Aquarian's fixed air and he wants to pour his truths down. So there are some truths to be had. And if you stand firm like that water bearer and you just let that water of truth pour over you, Venetian, Jupiterian, Cardinal Cancer water, that's the portal right now, coming out. If you allow the truths to come, I could promise you there will be great transformation in this area. And I felt very deeply I was supposed to share on Pallas. I identify with her in my own chart. I have a strong placement in a big stellium of Virgo. So I get this energy and the challenges that can be had with it. So really quickly, I'm going to read this again out of her book. I do not own this information. This is page 80, and this is the mythology of Pallas Athene. Pallas Athene, virgin goddess of wisdom, was second only to Jupiter, king of the heavens, in her importance to classical Greece. Athene's name was given to the city of Athens, the intellectual center of Greek civilization. As the goddess of war and victory, Pallas, a master tactician and strategist, was invincible in battle. And as the protectress and guardian of Athens, Pallas used her wisdom to teach the populace how to peacefully settle disputes and uphold the law by pacific means. Ever compassionate in her wisdom, she was a firm advocate of merciful justice. Pallas Athene was represented as a majestic woman sheathed in tight draperies and clad in armor. In her hand she held a spear and shield, a helmet upon her head, with her breast covered by a breastplate called the aegis, made of the skin of a goat, bordered with snakes, in the center of which was the head of the Gorgon Medusa. She was often accompanied by an owl, representing wisdom, and with a snake for prophecy. Pallas Athene is credited with advancing the civilizing influence of culture upon humanity. The civilizing influence of culture upon humanity, and her gifts are numerous. She invented the flute, the trumpet, the potter's wheel, the first earthenware vases, the plow, rake, and ox yoke. As goddess of the arts and crafts, Pallas served as patroness of artists, artisans, architects, and sculptors. She instructed humanity in the trades of smithing and metal founding, as well as the arts of cooking, embroidery, woolworking, and weaving. Finally, as goddess of health and healing, Pallas Athene taught a variety of medicinal practices, including the secret of regeneration through Medusa's blood. The occult teachings of Pallas Athene, page 97. Pallas Athene's occult teachings are derived from the serpent-haired Gorgon Medusa, whose face she wears on her breastplate. The serpent aspect of the Medusa represented the wisdom of the oracles and granted the ability to hear the voices of prophecy. The blood from the Medusa's severed head became the tonic elixir that revived the dead and regenerated the living. Pallas, therefore, governs the yogic techniques that activate the Kundalini force that leads to cellular regeneration and the illumination gained through the opening of the crown chakra. It is the Kundalini energy rising, very fitting for the 8th house, It is where we rise out of the ashes to become the phoenix. It is where we rise up to rise back down, to rise up, to rise back down, our alchemy. And the eighth house is the house of the occult, is the house of the deep symbolic alchemy that can be done through going down into the depths of Hades, sitting in those dark spaces, looking at them, analyzing them for a time, not staying there. We're not meant to stay looking at our trauma all the time or looking at those dark spaces. We must rise up. We must have a balance. As above, so below, right? A balance coming and going. Pallas Athene also embodies the magical will that enables us to create and control our reality. Rather than depending upon ceremony and ritual, Pallas spontaneously manifests whatever is needed through the mode of creative visualization. This is a lot like The Secret or the law of attraction, meaning what I hold in my eye gate then becomes my reality. It's tied to mindfulness, meditation, auto-suggestion, things, hypnotism, where we auto-suggest to ourselves when our minds are in a theta meditative mode. And then these things become reality. Rather than depending upon ceremony and ritual, Pallas spontaneously manifests whatever is needed through the mode of creative visualization. Thus, she is the occultist rather than the mystic, the scientist opposed to the psychic, who uses natural laws to manifest ideas onto the physical plane. This is a Hermes Trismegistus as well. This is working with the higher octave of Mercury, which is Uranus, higher up, elevated up. All lower planets have higher planets of elevation. The highest you can go with intellectual reasoning, above the mundane of the third and sixth house energies. Here's her psychological themes: principle of creative wisdom, intelligence, social justice, artistic, healing, political activism, confidence, courage, strength, and valor. Imbalances in sexual identity can be a shadow here with Pallas Athene, where there's a denial of her femininity, or an over-identification with men or your masculine aspects. Sexual alienation, becoming all intellectual, that we don't go to the heart and the feeling centers. Father-daughter complexes. Hello, I went through that and did my shadow work with that and found that until I did that, I certainly had patterns of an intellectual nature of the way that I expressed myself. Remember, what's opposite Aquarius is Leo. This is our very self-expression. It's ruled by the sun of where it comes out into the world. Conflicts between love and creativity. Occultic themes are Kundalini, prophecy and the oracle, magical will, and creative visualization. So some of the other things for deeper here, I won't go into it, aspects that you can look at with Pallas here is approval seeking, needing others to stamp their approval on you, and then you'll be okay. Strategies of relating, perceptual skills, and whether you're willing or not to do things that are going to please other people. So where Pallas shows up in your chart are these themes. And right now, she's moving away from that moon, moving away from that release and going back to Pluto. And Pluto rules this house. And Pluto in Aquarius is going to bring great revolutionary change. So this is a real theme here with this moon. All right, well, let's lastly take a moment here and let's look at Mars that is ingressed into Libra. Now, with Mars and Libra, this is fire in air, and they have an opportunity to work quite well together if they're willing. Fire and air work together. Another polarity, however, that we're seeing here is Mars is opposite Aries. And we have a lot going on in Aries. We've had a lot going on in Aries. And I've been talking about this. We've got Saturn, we've got Neptune, and we have Ceres now inside of Aries, up on that midheaven in this moon, quite visible. And what does this mean in simple terms? Mars in Libra is this urge to associate with others and be very socially active. Mars infuses us with energy, but wants peace over discord. And where is this occurring is in the 4th house of the home. So again, we have this theme of, there's a fine line between your home being in a place of high activity and a battlefield. Chances are these are themes for many of us right now, as we're trying to calibrate home life and outer energy with Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, right? And Pluto, all in these sextiles right now, in these smaller, lower degrees as well, trying to figure out how to balance. Mars is going to be able to help you here inside of Libra. It's a young degree, so it's just gotten in there, but you're going to be able to see both sides of an issue, and you're going to be able to see conflict and aggression and move away from it, because Libra does not like conflict and aggression, and she is going to be speaking about it in a very cardinal, forward, air, intellectual energy. Be careful here, because Mars in Libra, Mars even in the 4th house, can lose sight in shadow and want to dominate the home front here and dominate the home scene and kind of be a bully in shadow. And you got to watch how you express your physical energies at this time too, around the home of this moon, as there could be accidents within the moon cycle, with Mars sitting there with the moon ruling the 4th house. We've got this 4th to 8th trine, so the energies can work together. It probably won't be a serious injury or a serious disruption with it trining. Nonetheless, Mars is the warrior, and Mars carries a sword, hand-to-hand combat, and an axe. He is quite courageous in moving out in his fire. Again, I talked about this. Mars sextiling Mercury here. It's going to be a quick and alert mind, a mind that wants to be direct in communication. The mind as of this moon is going to have great, great power to be able to communicate all these themes that I've been talking about. Just remember, Mars inside of Libra, you need to stand up for some things here, because Libra can sometimes be a pushover and allow others to really take advantage of her. And again, we're dealing with shadows with this 8th house moon, so we want to make sure that we understand that. Mars opposite Saturn at 0 degrees here, almost conjunct. This is not comfortable energy. In particular, it's challenging. So the enthusiastic nature, right, of Mars is in conflict with this obstructive and restraining tendencies of Saturn. But Saturn here could quite possibly tone down a little bit this impatience that Mars is feeling and encourage some disciplined action. That's the good news. Maybe say, look, maybe you need to consider that energy there at home, and maybe that impatience needs to be a little bit more disciplined. So that could be there. But progression here in this opposition, is Mars is going to be there for quite a few weeks. Saturn moves very slowly. This is slow energy that could bring anger and irritability. And Mars, Saturn, two malefics at odds, could be harsh energy where you can be resentful, you can be bitter, these tendencies to be vindictive. Careful. Guard against that. Libra will lead the way in harmony. Just make sure she's balanced. And, low physical energy, too, I want to say, could occur with restricting Saturn and, saying, hey, where in your relationships of Aries I am to Libra we unite? Again, these kind of same themes, right? Us versus the other, okay? Where do I need to balance those energies? There's really a strong theme this moon coming out greatly. All right, those are the interplanet large themes I wanted to look at. The sextiling of these outer planets, of Uranus to Neptune, Neptune to Pluto, are in harmony right now, saying, look, if you're just willing to look at these spots and look at these places with the themes of these planets, you could have great release with this moon. Now, another thing I want to bring out is the low degrees. This is incredible. Look at all of the low degrees. Uranus at 0,1, Sedna at 0,1, Neptune at 0,1, Saturn at 0,1, Pluto at 0,2, and Mars at 0,1, and Mercury at 0,4. All of these lower energies are quite potent, and they are of what's called an initiation. So remember these longer planet transits that I talked about that we're going to nestle into in 2026, 27 is when we really get into them. Listen, right now we're not there. This is an initiation. So I just want to encourage you, do the work now. Do the work now. Do the growth in the caterpillar chrysalis now. Allow whatever's supposed to drop off, like this metamorphosis of, I know I used to be this way, but I just don't need it anymore. So I'm going to allow the cocoon time to metamorphosize me into a higher level so that when I'm born, I can go out and be free. I can fly. I can fly with my wings, my colors, my way of operating. Not in a selfish way, because we would have learned all these lessons. And we're in 11th house themes here, people. So how am I in that place of darkness and uncertainty? And really, no one else can help you here, guys. This is all you, boo. It's all you. Yes, you have your guides. Yes, you have your gurus. I understand that. I'm not saying that they can't be there on the outer rim. But at the end of the day, this is you alone in that cocoon. And you need to know that there is a structure in there forming. And it's going somewhere. And it's leading you somewhere. And this full moon is one of them, being in Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius in retrograde. Come on. It's screaming at us where these Uranus, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto themes are in our chart. Please look at those themes. And if you need help with that, it would be an honor to serve you and to share with you some bullet points and lessons and themes that are coming up for you in your own chart. I want to encourage you, look to, if you do this on your own, don't forget to pull that progress chart. The progress chart is how your sun, moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars are progressed or moved or matured, to a new place, sometimes a whole new sign, whole new houses, and how they're helping your solar star sun that you came in with mature. And so don't forget to put your progress chart to the your progress chart to this moon, because then it can show specifically. It shows it in the transits too, not look at those natals, because you need to, those original blue points. But remember, if you live on Earth, this is an evolving place where change is constant. And if we don't move forward where we're supposed to in our evolutionary cycle, and everyone has one, the sun will move forward out of your birth sun in 30 years intervals. It spends there. And so wherever you were born, if you're a 15-degree Cancer, in 15 years, it's going to move to Leo, where it'll stay 30 years and then move, if you live, to Virgo. So you may be born a sun star, and you must evolve into that sun star. But these progressions of the sun help you to see how your sun needs to mature, how your sun needs to change and grow, just like the caterpillar inside of the chrysalis, inside of the cocoon. I hope that this has helped you, and I'm going to close with Sedna. So Sedna finished up a super long transit where we had Sedna inside of Taurus. Now, the elliptical orbit of Sedna is 11,513 years. So when she moves, my goodness, it is a big, big deal. So I'm going to let you look at the backstory of Sedna and Taurus. We are now with Sedna at 1 degree, with the 1 degree Uranus, 1 degree Neptune, 1 degree Saturn. Very important to see these 1 degree initiations of those 4 placements. They're speaking. And during this full moon, they're speaking specifically inside of the decan of Jupiter. So we got to look at Jupiter. Jupiter in Cancer is exalted. So this is favorable time, a very beneficial time to look at all things Sedna in your subconscious mind, in the house of Pisces ruled by Neptune, and the higher spiritual themes, your beliefs that you bring down for all of humanity to then sacrifice, become the victim for, lead out and overcome these areas that have wounded you, that you elevate to the highest of high in a balanced way. Some of Neptune's themes. The theme of Sedna is surrounded by the betrayal of the feminine. And Sedna is the Inuit goddess of the sea and marine animals. And the story goes that Sedna was a beautiful maiden who did not want to marry anyone in her village. And a bird spirit, a shape shifter, so to speak, a man who shape shifted into a bird spirit, pretended to be someone else. and took her away. The story, there's different stories, but the mythology I'm following is pretty close to this. The stories are similar. And took her away from her homeland. And she discovers he's not human. And so she flees and calls out to her father, who was out at sea. And so she goes to her father out at sea and holds on to the boat and asks him to save her. And this birdman spirit, shapeshifter, starts attacking her father. So to save himself, he takes her fingers and, tries to pry them off, and they won't come off. And so he chops off her fingers. And she falls into the sea. And it's said that her fingers become all the marine animals, the whales and the seas and everything that lives and swims in the sea. And she goes down, 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 down to the very darkness, to the very depths, where she sits upon the earth, the floor of water, and where she shows her loss in her anger, in her pain, in her betrayal, in her strength, in the hidden parts of her subconscious is how this all integrates. So it's where the feminine perhaps needs to do shadow work about the themes of the masculine that is dominated over her, and where she has her true sight, because she gained it down there in the darkness. She sat down there in the depths and she found herself. And her true sight was in the depths of that darkness, you see. This is where we have the veiling that can occur within occultic symbolism, where we cover the physical eyes to tune into the third eye, to tune into Neptune, to tune into that which is above. And so she became the goddess of the ocean and the sea, and the hunters and the voyagers of the sea would pay homage to her and brought her gifts so that they would have smooth sailings, and did rituals so that she would provide good food from the sea. And she is similar to Persephone, who was dragged down to the underworld for half a year. But Persephone rose up after 6 months to then, of course, be on land, where we have summer and spring, going down then to fall and winter when the wheels turn. The goddess of the sea stays in the sea. But she does have boundaries to Earth. So therefore she's connected to Earth, isn't she? Very much an earthen goddess as well, where she knows how to go with her boundaries. And where her boundaries and her influence and her waves and her pounding of the shore and persistent, relentless measures change Earth. So these are the deeper symbolic themes going on here. And Sedna is inside of now Gemini, where she's speaking. And she's all concerned with all things third house. I had something else here. Oh, Molly McCord does an excellent job. Check her out on YouTube. And she talks about Sedna in one of her videos. And I wrote it down. I thought it was so powerful. But if you know anything about scuba diving, You go down into the depths, and you can't just shoot up rapidly, or you would be compressed. And there's a whole alchemy that goes on with the air inside of your body and the water and the depth and the pressure. So you have to come up slow, very slowly up to the tops. So Sedna represents, she moves so slow, she barely moves in a year. It takes 11,600 years to go around 12 houses. It is the slow, steady ascension to the surface where we then come out. And we must do it in a way that is healthy, in a way that honors the laws of nature, in the way that honors the water principles and air and all things water inside of this goddess. And we know that water represents the signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. And where is Gemini? Inside of Pisces house. This is not energy that people are seeing. This is hidden energy that is being asked upon with Uranus. Come on out into the collective with this. Come on out and talk about this. Come on out in your daily activities of third house, communication and travel to others through mercurial androgyny, by the way, male and female, masculine, feminine energies within you. And let us hear them. Let us heal them. Let us see them to heal them. I talk about this in the body, how the body has to feel to heal. And if we don't allow these areas to rise up to the conscious light and be identified and seen and talked about in a very practical way with perceptual Pallas Athena skill, we cannot heal. We just cannot heal. And this time of great outer planet change is going on really till 2027 when it finally settles. 2026 is calibrating it in. People of the world, collective of the world, this is a slow crawl journey. And mindfulness and grounding and small circle, right? Small circle, drama free, so that when you are out in the collective, you are able to help the collective. It's a preparation, because if we don't do this, we're not going to be able to discern with this AI energy coming in what's real. And really, I'm dead serious. We must have a discernment, a deep discernment, to be able to know what's real, what's not, what we can trust, and what we cannot trust. Because the world is changing as we know it. Blessed be. We'll see you soon.